If you have knee pain, walking may make your knees feel better. The question is forward walking or backward walking? Hi, I'm Laurie Kurtz-Kelly, and I've helped thousands of active adults build stronger, healthier knees without surgery. So in this video, I'll be sharing two critical differences between walking forward and walking backwards. What type of walking will initially help you the most? And 3 ways to advance each type of walking. When you're walking forward, as you take a step, your heel is most likely the first part of your foot to impact the ground. So as you strike the ground with your heel, the impact is going to go up through your leg, and that's going to squish everything between your shin bone and your thigh bone, impacting your knee. Then as you take another step forward with the other foot, this knee is going to bend and move forward past your toes. In this position, you're putting pressure behind your kneecap. So during forward walking, when your foot hits the ground, when your heel strikes the ground, you're going to absorb that force. And that force is going to be applied through the bones, but also between the bones. So between the shin bone and the thigh bone. Then when your knee bends, you're going to be placing more force behind your kneecap, between your kneecap and the groove on the end of the thigh bone where the kneecap moves. Okay, now let's talk about backward walking. When I'm walking backwards and I take a step, my foot, the part of my foot that hits the ground is the ball of my foot and my toes. So my forefoot hits the ground, which means some of the shock of that initial contact is being absorbed through my foot and also with my calf muscle. So taking a step backward here, the force is not going to go all directly through my knee. It's going to go partly through my foot. My calf muscle is going to be working. Then my foot will flatten and some of the force will go up through my leg into my knee. Contrast that, of course, with the forward walking where the heel strikes and the force is going directly through the leg. Okay, let's talk about the position, the bent position of your knee when you're walking backwards. When I'm walking backwards, I'm taking a step and landing on my forefoot. At the point when I'm landing on my forefoot, my knee, my bent knee, my kneecap is almost directly above my toes. Not exactly, but very close. And then when I'm putting all of my weight on my foot is closer to flat. It's definitely behind my toes, right? That means that there's less pressure under the kneecap. I imagine if you're watching this video, you want to know if walking forward or walking backward, or maybe a combination of both, are good for your knees, or which one is better for your knees. So let me answer that question, but before I do so, I want to just give you some background information that I think will be really helpful. Making your knees better, improving your knees, what we call the Better Knees method, involves 3 phases. And phase 1 is soothing your knees and preparing them for strengthening. This involves things like getting rid of your resting pain when you're just sitting around, getting rid of other uncomfortable sensations like fullness or swelling or stiffness, especially when you wake up first thing in the morning. Then phase 2 is strengthening deep inside your knees, between the bones. After you do that, then you move into stage 3, which is strengthening your leg muscles. So during stage 1, you want to choose activities that are going to make your knees feel good or not aggravate your knees. You want your knees to feel good, or you want your knees to feel neutral during this stage, when you're kind of calming down the symptoms, soothing them, and preparing your knees for the strengthening aspects. Then when you move on to stage 2 and you're strengthening your knee joints, which, by the way, is the phase that most people totally skip. They go from making their knees feel better to making their muscles work, and their knees inside aren't ready for the force of muscle strengthening. All right, let's say you can walk forwards. You walk forwards for 15 minutes consecutively, and your knees seem to feel fine. They feel fine while you're walking forwards during that 15 minutes. They feel fine the rest of that day. It doesn't increase any of your symptoms of discomfort or pain. The next morning you wake up and you feel okay. So 15 minutes feels fine to your knees. But if you walk 18 minutes consecutively, you start to notice some sort of pain or achiness, soreness, stiffness, something that doesn't quite feel right in your knees, either while you're walking at the end of that 18 minutes rather, or later that day or even the following day. 18 minutes is a little irritating, 15 minutes feels fine. What I suggest you start doing is walking for 5 minutes and repeat that 3 to 5 different times during your day. It doesn't have to be enough to be, a fitness walk where you're working up a sweat to be beneficial for your knees. If you're walking forwards, you can still get some benefit from backward walking. But if walking forwards hurts, even in short, brief amounts, then walking backwards could be a really good entryway into improving your knees to eventually prepare them for forward walking. So if you're interested in backward walking, one of the ways I suggest you implement backward walking is using a treadmill. So you know that you have a place to hold on. You can set the speed really low. It might be 0.8 miles per hour, but slow enough that it's not too slow that it's awkward, but slow enough that you're not having to hurry with your steps and you're not going to run into anything. If you don't have access to a treadmill, you could also use a long hallway, kind of walk your hands along the wall, just to fingertips for balance, and know that you're probably not going to run into anything because there's nothing on the floor in that area. So there has been recent scientific research on backward walking, and I'm going to put one of those studies in the description below this video. In that study, people who walked backwards for at least 10 minutes, 3 times a week, after doing that for 6 weeks, they had less knee pain. So there's very promising results. Now that's not to say you must start with 10 minutes of backward walking. You may start with 2 or 3 minutes and repeat that once or twice a day. Whatever you start with needs to feel good or neutral to your knees. There are 3 ways to advance forward and backward walking. But before I get into that, if you've already found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to this channel so that others find it as well. The first way to advance your forward or backward walking is to increase your duration. So if you're walking backwards for 3 minutes, you might increase to 3.5 minutes. If you're walking forwards for 10 minutes, you might increase to 11 minutes. The second way to advance forward or backward walking would be to increase the frequency. So if you're walking backward once a day, you might walk backward twice a day. If you're walking 3 times a week forwards, you might increase that to 4 times a week. The third way to advance is to increase the force. Now, increasing the force walking forward might look like walking faster. So if you walk faster, your foot is going to hit the ground, the heel is going to hit the ground with greater acceleration, and you're going to have more force that travels up through your leg and through your knee. So it's going to be more challenging on your knees to walk faster. Instead of walking faster, you would also increase the force through your knees, advance the forward walking exercise by wearing a backpack with some weight on it, or carrying something of weight. It might be 5 or 10 pounds, and you could add to that. It could be something specialized like a rucking sack, or it could be something like a bag of groceries. There are 2 suggestions I have for increasing the force during backward walking when you're ready to do that. So if you've been using the treadmill and you've had the treadmill on at a low speed for your backward walking, to advance backward walking by increasing the force, you could turn off the power on the treadmill. So now the belt of the treadmill is no longer moving, and instead you will move the belt by pressing a little bit with a little more force through your legs to actually move the treadmill belt rather than stepping onto the moving treadmill belt. That's one way. The other way is if you are at a gym that has equipment to do so, you can put some weight on a sled and tie that, with a strap around your waist and do your backward walking with greater and greater amounts of weight on the sled. And that too will increase the force through your knees. Now that you've learned how forward and backward walking can help improve your knees, you're ready to watch the next video about how to improve the shock absorption, cushion, and lubrication inside your knees.